Why do we feel tired even after resting? Why does doing nothing sometimes feel heavier than being busy? Why can a quiet day leave us more drained than a long one? There is a kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from effort, but from stillness. A tiredness that sleep doesn't fix and breaks don't erase. It settles quietly, without a clear reason, and makes rest feel strangely uncomfortable. It often starts the moment you wake up. Your body feels heavy, even though you rested. Your mind already feels full, even though the day hasn't begun. You scroll for a bit, trying to warm yourself up to the idea of being productive. But instead, you feel more drained. And then comes the guilt, that quiet voice that says, you shouldn't feel like this. You didn't do enough to be this tired. You watch other people online who seem energized, focused, always moving forward. They wake up early, work out, build things, chase goals. Meanwhile, you're tired just thinking about starting. So you rest more, hoping it will fix it. You take a break, you lie down, you try to recharge, but the tiredness doesn't leave. And that's when it gets confusing, because this kind of tired doesn't make sense. It doesn't follow the rules we were taught. Rest is supposed to help. Sleep is supposed to fix it. Doing nothing is supposed to make you feel better. But instead, you feel stuck in a loop where resting makes you feel guilty, and guilt makes you feel even more tired. A lot of people quietly carry this feeling. They don't talk about it much because it's hard to explain. Saying I'm tired feels weak when you can't point to a clear reason. You might even doubt yourself. You might wonder if something is wrong with you or if you're just not trying hard enough. But what you're experiencing isn't a lack of energy. It's a different kind of exhaustion altogether. This kind of tiredness often comes from the mind, not the body. It's the result of constantly being on, even when you're resting. Your body may be still, but your mind is busy. It's thinking, comparing, worrying, planning, replaying, predicting. And mental effort, even when it's quiet, uses real energy. You can be lying on your bed while your mind is running marathons, thinking about what you should be doing, thinking about what you're behind on, thinking about how much time you're wasting, thinking about who you're disappointing, even if no one has said anything. Over time, that constant background noise wears you down. Another reason this tiredness shows up is emotional pressure. Not dramatic emotions, but subtle ones. Pressure to be productive, pressure to improve yourself, pressure to make your rest worth it. When rest becomes something you have to justify, it stops being rest. Many people today don't know how to truly rest without judging themselves. Even while resting, they're evaluating it. Should I be doing something useful instead? Other people would use this time better. That inner commentary keeps the nervous system tense, even when the body is still. There's also the weight of unfinished things, tasks you didn't complete, messages you didn't answer, goals you haven't moved toward. Even if you're not actively thinking about them, they sit in the back of your mind, quietly draining you. Rest doesn't erase them, so your mind doesn't fully let go. And then there's comparison. Seeing constant highlights of other people's lives creates a subtle pressure that never really turns off. You might not feel jealous in a clear way, but your mind keeps measuring your energy, your progress, your motivation. That constant measuring is exhausting. So when you rest, your body stops, but your mind doesn't feel safe enough to stop with it. This is why people can feel tired even after doing nothing. Because doing nothing physically is not the same as resting mentally or emotionally. There's also something else underneath this feeling. For many people, feeling tired after resting comes from a deeper sense of disconnection. Disconnection from what they actually need. You might be resting your body when what you really need is reassurance, or clarity, or permission to slow down without consequences. Sometimes the tiredness is a signal, not that you need more sleep, but that you've been pushing yourself internally for too long. Even if your life doesn't look busy from the outside, your inner world might be under constant pressure. And here's the part that often gets missed. This kind of exhaustion is common among thoughtful people, people who reflect a lot, people who care, people who are aware of themselves and their surroundings. The same sensitivity that makes you observant and empathetic also makes you more vulnerable to mental fatigue. So if you feel tired even after resting, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means your system has been carrying more than it can easily process. The question then becomes, what do you do with this feeling? Not how do you fix it or get rid of it immediately, but how do you relate to it differently? One gentle shift is to stop expecting rest to solve everything. Rest isn't a cure, it's a condition. It creates space, but it doesn't automatically bring peace. Sometimes what you need during rest is not more sleep, but less pressure, less judgment, less expectation that you should come back refreshed and motivated. Another small shift is noticing how you talk to yourself while resting. If your rest is filled with self-criticism, your nervous system never actually relaxes. You don't need to silence your thoughts, but you can soften them. Letting rest be neutral instead of something you have to earn can slowly change how it feels. It can also help to allow rest to have a purpose that isn't productivity. Rest doesn't need to prepare you for doing more. Sometimes its only job is to let you exist without performing. That might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to measuring your worth by output. But that discomfort is often part of the process. Another gentle idea is to check whether you're resting from the right things. You might be resting from tasks, but not from stimulation. Constant input can keep the mind tired even when the body is still. Giving your mind moments of quiet without trying to optimize them can make a difference over time. And maybe the most important part is this: you don't need to judge yourself for feeling this way. Feeling tired after resting is not a personal failure. It's a response to the way many people are living right now. A world that moves fast, values constant output, and rarely teaches people how to slow down without guilt. You don't have to change everything at once. You don't have to suddenly feel energized. Sometimes improvement looks like understanding, like realizing there's a reason I feel like this, and letting that reason exist without fighting it. As you move forward, you might start noticing small moments where the tiredness eases, not because you pushed harder, but because you allowed yourself to be human. Moments where rest feels a little less heavy, a little less guilty, a little more kind. And even if those moments are brief, they matter. Because feeling tired even after resting doesn't mean you're failing at rest. It often means you've been carrying an invisible weight for a long time. And learning to put that weight down gently takes time. You don't need to rush that process. You're allowed to move at your own pace. You're allowed to rest without a reason. And you're allowed to feel tired without blaming yourself for it. Sometimes that understanding alone is the first real step toward feeling lighter.